Welcome to essentially saying that the next Gran Turismo's in the works. I guess it's always been a guarantee that there was always going to be another Gran Turismo, but I guess if it's going to be Gran Turismo 7 is not yet a guarantee. But I think this is a good sign of at least something, and I would assume that something would be Gran Turismo 7, because there's still all the stuff that's been said in the past about classic tracks being remade, and the next Gran Turismo being a combination of past, present, and future, and all that, and this is pretty much just confirmation that there's something in the works. And what this is a tweet from Kaz himself, saying that the update is coming next week, yay. But this year's updates are modest in frequency and volume, and then what that is in Japanese. What's coming is pretty much been figured out to be the Fiat 500, the old one, the slow one, the one that was even like a year before Fiat was technically Mopar, so I have no association to this one whatsoever. The 2009 is kind of contractually obligated to where, yeah, but no, this is what the penalty system is, folks. This is a piece of, yeah. But Nissan 180 SX and what's already been seen in the FIA races, the Aston Martin DBR9. But that's not really the point of this video, because we've gotten fairly frequent updates throughout the game. The main point is this top point, being that the updates are going to be less frequent, which could just be looked up as a straight up negative for how it's worded, because it doesn't say anything about the future, it just says for now. Except for the immediate future, obviously, being the update. But this is the thing, folks. I would have worded this a bit better. I would have said something about in order to work on the future, which doesn't even imply the next game still. It just implies the future, because this just makes it look like they're kind of abandoning. But I don't. I hope they're not, and I really don't see why they would at this point. And I don't really see this as a negative. Again, I would have worded this better, but still, I don't think GT7s, or at least GT Sport 2, again, if it's GT Sport 2, I ain't getting it, but let's just say GT7, because that's what more people overall still want. I don't think GT7's more than two or so years away. I do actually think that there's going to be something launch title with the PS5 related to GT. Will it be the full game of GT7? I highly doubt it, frankly, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities, but I do think there'll be at least something, whether it's like a tech demo or something you actually download, like a tech demo being just something they sell, but something you download being sort of kind of like the old demos were, but I don't think the true old demos, as in just playing like one track with one car, would really be a thing anymore, because most games it's kind of in the realm of, like, take for instance the new-ish grid demo. It has 3 tracks or 3 cars, but also has like scenarios and a slight storyline. I don't think a demo can get away with this simple car and track anymore, is what I'm saying. I think it would be something along the lines of that comes out. And essentially, the main reason I'm making this video is because this tweet is somewhat speculatory. What I will do kind of is too. So it's not really saying any new information, but that's kind of what's coming up in future videos too. Is my take on things, including one that is just simply a tweet and then another that's an announcement. The information in future videos is actually going to be slightly older, but this came out right after I recorded the first 2 videos, and I figured this would take the first priority of the other 2, because the other 2 are more timeless overall than what this is. Because this is literally talking about something that's happening starting next week, so this will come out first. With this other videos would talk somewhat more in the past, because they were made before, but they're going to come out. But anyway, for now, yeah, I don't think this is a bad thing, as long as that does mean they're working on the future. What does the future hold? I mean, even my GT7 rumor video from almost a year ago still holds up decently. There's still rumors of GT7 as a launch title for the PS5. That's what that video said. I'm not necessarily going to link that video in the description because there's been more coming out since then, but essentially the more is just more confirmation. It's not any true facts. Again, the only true facts about in this tweet is that there's silhouettes and that it's coming next week, and then from then on they're not. Well, this pretty much does mean that it's going to be a far stretch for GT Sport to get to the range of 400 to 500 cars, which was said that was going to happen, which is sad, frankly. They don't live up to what they physically said. Me not being the biggest fan of GT Sport, I don't care that much. I mean, of course, I'd like them to do what they said, but I'd rather than make GT7 or at the very least Sport 2 good. If Sport 2 is just in name only and it like launches with 700 cars or something like that, then yes, I'll get it because it would essentially be GT7. But if Sport 2 launches with like 300 cars and there's still the same FIA stuff as the main focus, then I ain't gonna get it. But frankly, I don't. They said GT Sport's gonna be burn it to the ground, but then yet we still have this car from GT6 and this car from a lot of Gran Turismos, and I mean they're still using "Moon Over the Castle" as a main theme song and blah blah blah. They said burn it to the ground, but enough people said for them to not burn it to the ground that they couldn't. So they changed what they could. Granted, they've said since like 2017 as well, or I think even like 2016 maybe, that the next Gran Turismo, which at that point meant GT Sport, they were working on classic tracks for it. So far, the one classic track we've got is Special Stage Route X, and that's not even what they were referring to. They were referring more to like Trial Mountain and Deep Forest and High Speed Ring and the even more classics than Route X. What do y'all consider more classic nowadays? Do y'all consider like the GT1 and 2 oval track more classic, or like the GT3 and 4 test course, or GT5, 6, and now Sport? Route X, I mean, obviously Route X is a more impressive one, but I guess really the rest depends on your preferences. I don't really care that much either way. They're all fun to do dirty races on, I'll say that. But anyway, if GT7 is at least decent, I'll be happy. If they do literally what they say, past, present, and future, of more of a degree than what they've done in GT Sport, I'll forgive most of the bad of GT Sport. A lot of the penalty system is still unforgivable, but if it's just simply the game becomes obsolete, doesn't matter how bad the penalties are in an obsolete game. If that's the main focus in the future still, and they still can't get the penalty system right, then I'll still be mad, but I've still been saying that in many videos. The main purpose of this video is it's the first Gran Turismo video I've done in a bit that isn't a rant. It's just more of hopefulness, and it's rare to have hopefulness anymore with PD. It's very optimistic and involving speculation for the hopefulness, but while this tweet in general actually sounds quite negative, this is my last thread of hope for PD, and that this tweet is actually positive, that they're working on a new game. Hopefully I'll be proven correct in somewhat of a timely fashion. I'm not expecting GT7 or Sport 2 at launch, period. It's a rumor, and there's been things saying that it can happen, but I'm certainly not expecting it. So I will not be mad if it doesn't happen. I'll be a little bit annoyed if literally they don't do anything more with the next generation of Gran Turismo by the time the PS5 comes out. But I would assume at the very least, because they've already talked about it and this is pretty much confirmed, that at the very least GT Sport would be backwards compatible. It would be incredible if they could make the old ones backwards compatible as well, but we'll see on that. What I wonder about backwards compatibility, though, if somehow they can do it with all systems, which I don't think has been completely thrown out, if that means like Gran Turismo 4, which has LAN, backwards compatibility with PS5, means that essentially there could be an FIA tournament, but with Gran Turismo 4, just everyone in the same room running off LAN. That would be quite incredible, and I guess maybe doable. I'm not 100% sure on that, but GT4 on the PS2 could handle 6 cars. I mean, in theory, backwards compatibility with the PS5, it could probably handle pretty much infinite. Realistically, like 24, I guarantee, because GT4 can even do that now. But yeah, it's weird to say, but I'm happy with saying it. The future looks decent for Gran Turismo, because they're saying at least that they're putting focus on the next Gran Turismo from when it's. But that's what I've always said with GT Sport. If they can't do something, or know they won't be able to do something, they should just go ahead and say it, and now they are. I'm not going to be mad about them if they just straight up and say that something's not going to be as good, or can't be fixed, or whatever. Like I said, I would rather them just go ahead and say that they can't fix the penalty system. But to be fair, they have tried different iterations since I made that video. They just failed every single time. As long as GT7 is an actual number game, though, and it's not just GT Sport 2, I'm not going to be as worried about the penalty system, because I'll just do more of the general online lobbies, or solo racing, or dare I even say it has a decent enough campaign mode where I don't have to worry about that for the first few months of the game being out all too much. I'm not saying if it's offered in the game that I just completely won't do it. I'm just not going to be having that as a main focus. Like if in GT7 they have the 2021 Dodge Challenger Angel with the 919 horsepower that has been rumored going around Tugger Expressway Central Outer Loop, and then the next one being the 2017 Dodge Viper ACR going around Trial Mountain. Yeah, sure, I'll do those two races even with a sport mode penalty system, but that's looking a bit too far in the future. But it's not completely out of the realm of possibilities either. What to come with GT Sport? I mean, they've still talked about Formula E as being a thing. They've still talked about classic tracks as being a thing. It would be nice if both of those happen. But they've also talked about 400 to 500 cars being a thing, and it's looking like that's going to be virtually impossible. After this update, we're going to have 334 cars. So then that means there's been a little bit over 160 added, and that means we still have over 60 to go. So that's not all that good. If we're getting 3 cars per update, and the updates come every 2 months, well, that's only gonna be 18 cars a month, so, or 18 cars a year. And we need over 60 still, so then that means this game's still gonna get updated for 5 years? Yeah, I don't see that happening. If that happens, then GT7 is not going to happen anytime soon, but given this tweet, I think GT7 of at least something of an announcement of it will be happening soon. If it's just straight up going to be purely GT Sport 2 and it releases with like 300 cars or something with still the main focus is online, then I'm probably not even going to get a PS5, especially at launch. But given that they've already said it's going to be past, present, and future, and this tweet saying they're pretty much already working on it and all that, it's weird for me to say, but I'm very much fine with saying it. There's some hope in the future of Gran Turismo. Hope for the now Gran Turismo? Yeah, not so much, but I didn't have hope to begin with, really. The penalty system, it just ain't going to be fixed at this point, and even if it is, who cares? They moved on. But again, that's why I don't think it will be fixed, because who cares? At least in this aspect, they have moved on. Granted, it's probably different people who make the cars for future updates than fix the penalty system for future updates, but still. Oh, and on this, GT Sport is very much underwhelming, but it's been so for a while now. They've gotten kind of used to it and just quit playing it because it's not all that was worth playing, and my copy isn't working anyway, so I wouldn't want to, or I couldn't if I wanted to. And even after not playing for over 6 months, there's not all that much of a want to. It's just sad to say about a Gran Turismo game, because I would even be playing GT5 Prologue now if it still had online. And I still do play GT4, even though it never had online, but That's just the world we currently live in, but in the future, it might revert back to the past, which in general kind of sounds like a bad thing, but just think about the world we live in now. There's quite a lot of things that honestly we'd kind of want to revert to the past, isn't it? There's a lot of things in high up issues, at least on the American front, that we are consciously trying to revert to the past, it seems like. Move the things that need to be moved forward, but the things that were better in the past, I'm fine with keeping as in the past. And that can go with a lot of issues, but overall, I am progressive and like moving forward and all that, but if it just simply doesn't work moving forward, and if something did work in the past, I say just keep with what worked in the past, then while it might not be as successful now, it at least won't be a failure of what they may have attempted to move forward with, and then that just straight up failed. Again, that can work in a lot of issues, but especially with Gran Turismo. While the overall game of GT Sport wasn't a failure, it sold a decent amount of copies. It looks pretty. It has the same photo locations system that had in GT4, 5, and 6, but now with the more immediate aspect of sharing it and then putting the cars that you make your pretty liveries in and all that. GT7 is still, or GT Sport is still about the best game out there for if you want to put a pretty livery on your car and then want to take pretty pictures with that livery. It's still about the best thing out there to get. But GT7, I want it to be the best thing out there for you to get to race on tracks that we know and love, looking as pretty as they ever did, and then maybe with your pretty livery as well, and then be able to take pretty pictures of your car with the pretty livery on the pretty track as well. That'd be nice. Not the most tracks in GT Sport, but hopefully that'll happen in GT7. As well as cars, as well as just simply gameplay, more things to do. Bring back social racing, make drifting more of a focus, things like that. At the very least, though, keep the past, present, and future in what they said. And as of now, they're saying that they're essentially working on future games. At least they're saying it. That is a step in the right direction, because that is something that I've always said. I've always wanted PD to just say that if they can't do something, or if they're running out of time to do something or whatever, go ahead and say it, and now they have. Again, I would have worded this individually better to say that because they're doing this, they are going to work more in the future, but whatever. It's better than them not saying anything at all. So overall, even though GT Sport's pretty much done, that's to be expected, and honestly at this point I don't really care all that much. As long as they shift their focus to the future, which it's looking like they will for now, and if that is indeed the case, it's most certainly worth a yeehaw, unless it's pure GT Sport 2. They're saying it's not, but if that happens, I very much reduct that yeehaw with forcefulness.